Hi everyone, welcome back. Since the announcement that defined contribution pensions will be within your estate for calculation of inheritance tax from April 2027, it's understandable that more people are concerned about the payment of this tax, and there are many common myths and misunderstandings when it comes to inheritance tax that I'll go through in this video today. So let's dive in. Welcome back to all existing subscribers. If you are new here, my name is Dianne and I'm a financial coach qualified in advanced financial advice, and I support people to achieve their money and life goals. The inheritance tax thresholds. You can see on the screen the basic rules when it comes to inheritance tax. Do pause the video if you want to read more carefully. Myth number 1. We're not married, but everything will pass to my partner tax-free. If you have a partner that you are cohabiting with, then unfortunately your estate will be liable for inheritance tax upon your death. You simply cannot pass your estate tax-free onto a cohabiting partner, no matter how long you've been living with them. The spousal exemption only applies to legal spouses or civil partners. Cohabitees simply just don't get this exemption. You do not want to be in a situation where your partner is forced to sell their home upon your death in order to settle an inheritance tax bill. It's not particularly romantic, but many cohabiting partners who have been together for many years decide to finally get married in order to protect each other from potential inheritance tax. Myth number 2. ISAs or IHT-free. Individual savings accounts, or ISAs for short, form part of your estate when it comes to IHT calculation, and they lose their tax-free wrapper upon your death. Now, there is the APS mechanism for passing it on to a spouse. I've made a previous detailed video about this that you can find in the video description. But when ISAs are passed on to a non-spouse beneficiary, they lose their tax-free status. So you could perhaps argue that in the future, pensions have a slight edge over ISAs because pensions will retain their own tax wrapper, whereas ISAs don't. So when it comes to your death, if you're single, or second death if you're married, your beneficiaries who are inheriting your ISA from you, that ISA loses its tax wrapper and it becomes a general investment account. When pensions are passed on, they retain their tax wrapper. So investment growth within an inherited ISA that is now a general investment account, growth within that account is now subject to capital gains tax, whereas growth within a pension wrapper is not subject to taxation. Your beneficiaries, of course, pay income tax at their marginal rate when they take income from the pension that they have inherited, but the growth within it remains tax-free. So perversely, in future, that could give pensions a slight edge over ISAs when it comes to inheriting them. Myth number 3, will automatically get the residential nil-rate band. The residential nil-rate band only applies if a qualifying residence is within your estate. And there are strict rules about what constitutes a qualifying residence that I won't go into in this video. And that qualifying residence must be passed on to direct descendants in order for the residential nil-rate band to apply. But there's something perhaps even more important to appreciate that is a common misunderstanding when it comes to the residential nil-rate band. You won't automatically get it even if you are bequeathing a qualifying residence to a direct descendant, because if the total value of your estate is above 2 million, then tapering applies. For every £2 your estate goes over 2 million, you lose £1 of the residential nil-rate band, such that it's soon wiped out and lost altogether. And that's an important negative impact of pensions now coming within your estate, because the knock-on impact is that many people could be losing the residential nil-rate band. It certainly wasn't automatic already, and due to increasing house prices within people's estate in the future, certainly after April 2027, we could be in a position where more and more people are losing the residential nil-rate band, such that the threshold for the 40% liability of inheritance tax is set at the ordinary nil-rate band without the residential one. Myth number 4, putting the house in someone else's name removes it from your estate. I hope that most of you realise that simply giving away your house to someone else does not remove it from your estate, but that's still a common misunderstanding that you can give away your property many years before you die and it's not counted for inheritance tax. That's simply not true, because if, say, you give your property to your children or someone else and continue to live in that property, it's called a gift with reservation. The way around that, giving your house away, still living in it, is to pay full market rent. But be very careful about that one. It's not something to be done lightly. HMRC will check up that it's been done legitimately. And of course, you'd expect them to check that you are not paying somebody full market rent who's then paying that money straight back to you. Myth number 5, gifts out of income don't need paperwork. If you have money left over from your regular income that you don't need, and you give that surplus income away to someone else on a regular basis, then that's exempt from inheritance tax. So firstly, that's something that perhaps many people aren't aware of. Most people are aware of the annual gift exemption threshold of £3,000 per year, but this is different. You can give away as much as you like from your surplus income. The specific detailed rules around this are on the screen right now, but for many people who are aware of this rule, many mistakenly believe that because it's IHT exempt, you don't need to keep paperwork. That's not true. You do need to keep detailed records because HMRC will check up on this. Myth number 6, we can wait to pay IHT until the house sells. The HMRC deadline for any IHT payable is by the end of the 6th month after death. And after this deadline, HMRC starts charging interest to the estate. So unfortunately, for estates where there is little to no liquidity and paying an inheritance tax bill is dependent upon the sale of a property, HMRC don't give you an exemption. If you want this situation to be avoided on your estate for the sake of your beneficiaries, then a potential way around this is whole of life insurance within a trust. I'll go through trusts in the next section, so stay tuned. Myth number 7, trusts are a simple way to eliminate inheritance tax. I've heard many people mistakenly believe that rich people use trusts to completely avoid inheritance tax, and they are a simple way of wealthy people getting out of paying it. Well, it's partly true because you can use trusts effectively to mitigate or eliminate the inheritance tax liability of your estate, but they are far from easy and simple. For example, the 7-year rule still applies if the settlor dies within 7 years of setting up the trust. And if nil-rate band thresholds are exceeded, there's an upfront charge of 20%. There can be many ongoing charges as well as exit charges. So without going into too much detail here, I've made other videos about trusts. They aren't a simple get out of jail free way of avoiding having to pay inheritance tax. Far from it. I hope you've enjoyed this video where I've gone through the main myths and misunderstandings that I've experienced when it comes to inheritance tax. Perhaps I've forgotten a few that you're aware of and you hear friends and family talking about. Let me know in the comments. And for those of you who are unaware, there's a link in the video description where you can request a free call with me if you are interested in receiving financial coaching from me. I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, hwyl fawr am y tro.